a new video, and it hasn't been even 6 months since the last one. Hi! Hi, I'm Ksenia, also known as Bonificat, and I'm an artist and illustrator. Can you guess what we're doing today? Of course, it's a sketchbook tour. Hooray! This sketchbook isn't even 1/3 finished, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. It's one of my favorites these days. So let me introduce you to this giant, gentle monster that completely stole my heart. Here's how it happened. I saw it in an art supply store and I asked people on Instagram, it kind of scares me, but should I get it? And kind people of Instagram, you, said, yes, get it. And honestly, it's very easy to dare me into things. Yeah, like I do have a problem with finishing things, but starting new projects, zero problems here. So here it is, A3 giant baby. I'll call it baby anyway. I call all my sketchbooks babies. A3 baby from Canson. The paper, I think, is somewhere around 90 grams. It's pretty thick, so it's going to be with me for a long time. For a while, it lived with a black cover, but then during my experimental phase, at this one, I was obsessed with making collages, and it fell into my hands. I actually love how the cover turned out, but most importantly, I was completely happy doing this. It was like this strange euphoric state, something that doesn't happen to me very often. And also I added this strap from garbage, which fits pretty well, I think. Let's start. So, to avoid ruining the first page, as one does, I decided to copy this helmet from some reference, and then I added the date in Arabic and Roman numerals because I like how it looks. And here's where I started working on the fossil of a creature I named Elephit. It's prehistoric version, which is used to be a battle animal with this tough protective plates. And people often say that this design reminds them of an alien. But honestly, it wasn't my intention at all. I was thinking more like of arthropod shells, like horseshoe crabs or something similar. And now I feel a bit awkward because I spent so much time on the illustration that looks like such an iconic character. Oh, I really love this page. For now, I only have fairly rough ideas about these creatures, like they're not settled into my world yet. So I'm going to keep thinking of them. But the process of exploring was truly exciting. This creature is one of my very old designs, but I still want to include it in my bestiary book, which will, of course, exist at some point. Some tropical croca horses, basically. Here I was researching for a tropical region that inhabited by frog civilization, or as I call them, the Akua folk. And this is a hermit dragon peeking out of its shell, not for a tropical region. And with absolutely no transition at all, my mind jumped elsewhere and I started sketching ideas for creatures that live underground kingdom. And most of these are just exploration and random shape experiments like these ones. And here's another random idea, combining something non-living with plants. I called it necrophyta. At the time, I was reading a book about how animals perceive mortality and if they even understand this concept. And probably the heaviness of that book inspired me. I absolutely love this page. I was inspired by etchings of some various animals and insects. I just decided to go all in and fill the whole A3 page with a random beetle design. I love the drawing so much that I'll probably at some point will make a real etching or maybe lithography with this sketch. Oh, another prehistoric animal that survived and reached the modern times without much changes in them. And here you can see the shell echoing that creature in the beginning. So I tried to make all the prehistoric ones kind of in one style, like making them very heavy and like armored. But you might ask why this creature has 6 limbs and that one in the beginning has 4. And I'll say that's a damn great question. And this spread again is dedicated to underground creatures, folks. Here I was inventing a gas mask. So, listen carefully. They live underground and they can't breathe surface air. So they use a special device, which, oh my god, is also turns out to be a zoophyte creature that produces a specific gas that they need when going up to the surface. But no worries, this all will be in the bestiary. So here's another creature used by the underground people when they come up to the surface. Yes, again. The first design reminded me too much of Cthulhu, though it was discarded. Since the underground people, yes, their life is very hard. They can't tolerate bright light. So they travel on the surface by night and they rest at the daytime. And during the daytime, they need shade to take some rest. And this zoophyte works as a beast of burden at night, but at the daytime, this creature unfurls its leaves on its back and creates some sort of a tent. And it was bred from the ancient animal form, which is why it also has 6 legs. I know that playing with multi-limbed creatures is a slippery slope, but there won't be too much of these ancient creatures, I hope. On this page, there are more the gas mask creatures, and on the screen I'll show you the latest version of this creature. Oh, and here's the bag that is used to carry that creature. Pretty comfy. I really like this sketch. While drawing it, I added the crown and I immediately thought that it's like a metaphor for a goddess Persephone. During winter, she lives underground as a root, and in spring, she rises with flowers and leaves to the surface. And these are sketches for my zine. For a spread that marks the transition between one part and another, like shown as 2 creatures pointing the way. And here I was sketching like logos or symbols for the underground kingdom. Looks like I really like the underground kingdom. And somewhere at this point I realized that at this pace I will never finish this sketchbook and I need to work more active in it. So from here on there's lots of some random sketches. And as you can probably tell, I love filling my sketchbooks like very densely, leaving as little empty space as possible. And here are mostly some root creatures, and I continued exploring this topic. I don't know how it is right now, but at this stage, I realized I don't really want to draw hind legs, branches and leaves, so I just continued drawing these snake-like root animals non-stop. And this drawing was inspired by a page from one of my favorite books, Cabinet of Curiosities. Ooh, oh my. So, this creature on top, I started with a dragon that I saw on one of Hieronymus Bosch's. I don't know if it's Bosch or Bosch in English, because in Russian it's Bosch. And I turned it into a root creature, of course. And then I thought that maybe it grows underground and at some point it cuts or chews through its own roots to set itself free, and the root part sprouts into a new zoophyte. And this creature, I really like this drawing. So this creature I called Astramisa. On the surface there's a beautiful flower, but underground it's a multi-headed insect hunting creature. And you can easily guess that I got inspired by this star nose mole. I'm not going to show it because some people might find it terrifying. Not me. And potato. This creature is definitely based on potato. Potato! And here I decided to be clever. I thought, like, if I drew on this page, there was a risk of ruining the drawing on the page before. And now I'm a hostage to this idea, and every left page in this sketchbook is now a collage. I'm trapped. So here's more plant sketches, and this image I redrew from the Cabinet of Curiosities book, and I honestly don't remember if I came across it myself or someone sent me this poem about a two-headed calf. I remember this poem every time I see this drawing. Like, it's a very beautiful and touching. I really like how this horse root turned out. The root part especially, and the look of the page overall with this collage elements and the tea bag. Tea bags are amazing freaking material. I really love this drawing. I drew this while feeling very uplifted. Like savoring every moment of the process, every stroke of it. It's probably hard to see in the drawing theme, but I was happy. And here's some of my tangled hair. And this motif you probably recognize. It's our boy Hieronymus Bosch again. Sorry. I took a fragment from his painting and decided to play with it. And I thought it could be like not two creatures, like horse and rider, but like one singular creature, some weird sprout, or maybe symbiont or parasite, or maybe a mother plant growing its child on its back. And there was a break in several months, and I came back to it when I came to Thailand in December. I came out with a new reel format for Instagram, where I find a stick and then I draw a creature based on this stick. On this page there's a shape explorations, like getting myself acquainted with the stick, and on the right there's creatures themselves. And on this page was a second stick that turned out into a bat. And this is the most recent stick so far. I decided to do only 2 designs, but they are more refined. I decided to turn both these creatures into vintage bestiary pages, like I used to do. Really miss that format. So yeah, that's everything I've done so far. There are monstrously many empty pages. So my prediction is I will be living with this sketchbook for more, like 4 or 5, who knows, 10 years. It's a happy marriage. So what do you think? You've met so far 3 of my sketchbooks. Which one is your favorite? And which page from this one you like the most? I'm still in Thailand right now, as you can guess from my backdrop. But I'm heading back home in the end of May, and I'm planning to open my online shop for the summer. I have my zine, a small amount of framed originals, rare thing, and possibly some prints for sale. I'll think about it. So stay tuned. Oh, and I'm also working on my sketch art book. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably know. And I really hope I'll manage to finish the layout and print it to the summer, and that it will be available in the shop as well. Hopefully. So yeah, that's all from me. Thank you so very much for spending the time with me today, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hugs and kisses. Bye bye. Bye bye. Grabs your horse. Grabs your horse. Alien with a choose. And as you might guess, be my guess. Horse drawing. Material. December. Stop embarrassing yourself. I'm tired. Oh, my anaka. Oh, my leg. Don't sit cross-legged if you're an idiot like me. I'm tiny. Am I in the... I'm sweaty and I want сердечки.